The visibility here at Mumbo Island is at least a meter or two cleaner than anything we've experienced closer to home. I noticed the volume of fish in this cove to be slightly less than what we've experienced closer to home, and I expect that this is a result of overfishing. Closer in one of the corners I noticed almost a snail graveyard and one of the cichlids feeding just on the algae in amongst it. So what was really different about this dive site is that there was a lot of seagrass here. Vegetation I have found is to be fairly uncommon in the lake area. Most of the topography you see is boulders or sand and not a lot of vegetation growing. However, here we had this large, long grass-like vegetation which would rise several meters up from the bottom, at points nearly reaching the surface. And then lower down, closer to the sand, you had the shorter, wider bladed vegetation. So at first it's pretty hard to notice much life going on here, but then I started to notice these tiny fry which actually make their way into the seagrass, and this forms some sort of protection against predators for them. On closer inspection there's quite a lot of life living in amongst this grass. Fry from all different species of cichlid, all different shapes and sizes, all occur quite freely within this grass and all mingle and mix up together. This forms good cover and they can easily evade different predators by shooting into different parts or in amongst the grass or maybe into some tumbling algae at the back. And this obviously raises their chance of survival quite significantly. Towards the back I saw this algae pullers I'd seen in an earlier story. These are hemitilapia, and they turn on their sides and they pull the algae off the flat-bladed grass. They're relatively shy fish, and if you approach quite closely they just tend to keep their distance of about 2 or 3 meters. I came across one little crab who was also making his way through the grass. One of the reasons otters may occur in these coves is because of the abundance of crabs such as this one. It's quite unusual to see them during the daytime, and they are more commonly seen at night. During the daytime they'll tend to hide underneath rocks or just to take cover. I moved a little further into one of the corners just to see what else I could find. And I came across these large bower-like structures. Now these are made by Caprichromis, which is a very shy and rather large cichlid. These bowers are easily 1 meter to 1.5 meters across, and all throughout this entire gravelly sand bed I noticed these bowers. These males are quite territorial, and I assume when their bowers are so close together there might be the odd spat of a common fence. Now these fish were all in the area, but they are very, very shy and they tend to move off and give themselves a good 4 or 5 meters. Eventually, after a while, one of the males got slightly closer to me, but ever suspicious, never really approached closer than this. They are stunningly beautiful and a large blue type of cichlid that have actually specialized by ramming into brooding females and stealing their fry.